Hi everyone, Kristen here. I'm going to give you some tips on how to efficiently and relatively quickly take tasteful photos of your small handmade objects using a desk, a wall, some paper, and your smartphone. Let's begin. So the first thing is I've found sort of my best lit wall in my home. It's indirect. It happens to be a gray day, which is preferable for this kind of thing, but we live in New England, so that shouldn't be too hard. So first thing, I have paper taped on here. I have my desk pushed all the way up to the wall to create a connected surface. I have a white paper and a gray paper. You don't need to use this. I'm using this specifically so that I have a continuous background, so that the object that I photograph has a nice, full, clean backdrop behind it. I don't see a seam if I shoot it from this way and all that stuff. But, it's helpful and it gives a clean look, but not totally necessary, not absolute. Depending on your style and your taste, you can just as easily do something like that. You have a nice clean surface, clean wall, that's perfectly fine. But for our application, we're doing this. First thing we're going to photograph are these delicate little handmade stud earrings made by the jewelry program. And one of the things that I've added onto this is they're so tiny that if you're a shopper on the online store, which that's where these are going, you kind of need to see a scale for them. There's no way to identify how big or small they are. So I didn't have a nice chrome blade here at home, so I used a crummy blade and drew to scale, hand drew a pretty blade so that I'll take a few photographs of the object near this blade and then somebody has a sense of how big or small they are. So I'll just do that with one shot for each tiny object that I do. So you're just going to play with your material. I'll borrow my smartphone here and sort of maybe use that as a prop. I might prop them up on something that I have, a lucite cube or what have you. And the 4 keys to remember here before you start photographing are indirect but good light. Paper is a good continuous backdrop if you want that. Take photos from every angle. You don't need to take 1,000 photos, but you can certainly take as many as you have time to deal with, because the 4th most important key is you can edit everything down later. You likely have great software on your smartphone to edit down, so don't overwhelm yourself with thousands of photos, because then you'll never get to the bottom of it, but just be deliberate and then you'll have fewer photos to deal with. So play with your material, take all sorts of photos, get up close, get up top, go in this way. Jewelry and silver in particular is difficult to photograph because of the shine, the brightness, the reflection, and that they're so tiny, so it's hard to scale, hence the handmade ruler. So next thing we're going to photograph are these beautiful pencils, a slightly more three-dimensional object. These are made by the awesome McKee Berkman. And for these, I actually want to change my paper out, so I'm going to take my gray off. And we are just going to play with these. Just play with your material. For most applications, for a lot of applications, you want a square photograph, so you can stage your objects so that they will photograph well in a square, but don't worry about that when you're taking your pictures, because again, you can edit those down to a square or a rectangle or whatever you want. For the online store website, all the images are square, so I will be doing that for these. I happen to have had a bunch of this beautiful ribbon that I like to play with in my photo styling, and so I took some and wrapped it in sort of this, I guess you would call it an obi style wrap, And I'm going to lay this down in sort of a square shape. I think I might throw in a bookmark, because what goes better with books, paper bookmarks than a pencil? So that might be appealing to somebody who's browsing our store. So again, I'm just going to go in and take a bunch of photos, not too many because I don't want to be overwhelmed, but just get all the shots and be done. And then we can move on to our next object, which is an even bigger three-dimensional object, which is this mahogany and cherry lidded bowl. Now, hardwoods are really cool to photograph because, you know, one thing you really want to get close-ups with this, especially with mahogany just glows, and close-up photographs really can sell the product in that way. So you may need more paper for this because we're going to shoot it from up top, and so you need more flat area. So you might need to lower this, but I think we're good for now. So this has so many shots that I don't want to miss. I'm going to take straight from straight up with the lid because there's this beautiful pattern to capture, to catch in that from the top. I'm going to put the lid to the side, take some pictures that way, come in this way, get up close, that way, just all over. Just take every angle you can. Don't forget, you can edit later. And the last thing that we're going to photograph is a flat object. Flat objects. And yes, that's a Target bag. Now, this one is just a little too big for my backdrop, so I'm going to skip that one. And let's go with this little one. I'm just going to lay it down flat. It's flat, so let's photograph it flat. There's no need for me to get, you know, weird side angles with this because you'll never see it. You don't know what it is. So it's down flat. I'm just going to go in. I'm actually going to turn it this way because that's just the way I'm standing. And just take from the top. There's really, I mean, you can come a little bit from the side, but again, you can take however many photos as you want. Don't overwhelm yourself with them, but you can always edit down. And that's it. That's all I have. Thanks for joining me. See you later. Bye.